and I'd like to dedicate this video to Chris from Old World Exploration. He's one of my favorite content creators on this subject matter, and he's been a lot of help to me starting this channel. Thank you, Chris. And our story begins in 1891 when a nun named Mother Scholastica College of the town of St. Joseph, Minnesota, was tasked with creating a new convent and girls' school in the town of Duluth, Minnesota, which is 150 miles to the northeast of St. Joseph. St. Joseph, Minnesota at the time had a population of about 525 people, and the church was able to somehow send 32 nuns up to Duluth, Minnesota, which was a population of 30,000 people at the time. In 1892, Mother Scholastica College founded the Institute for Sacred Heart and started renting out 2 townhouses at the brand new Munger Terrace. And we are told her father was a very wealthy German immigrant named Peter Kirst, who had inherited a small fortune before immigrating to the United States and then investing in land in St. Paul, Minnesota, 135 miles south of Duluth, Minnesota, and made lots of profits in returns. In 1894, the nuns received a generous donation of 3 lots of property in Duluth, Minnesota from Peter Kirst in St. Paul, Minnesota to build their first permanent school. And to put things into perspective, St. Joseph, Minnesota is 150 miles away from Duluth, Minnesota, and St. Paul, Minnesota is 135 miles away from Duluth, Minnesota, and St. Paul to St. Joseph is 83 miles. And these nuns were busy. In 1888, they rented out a building to run and start the original St. Mary's Hospital. They were also running orphanages, Catholic schools for German immigrants, as well as working in the hospital. And in 1898, again, her father donates her enough money where she is able to build a brand new St. Mary's Hospital. And I gotta take a break from the narrative for a little bit here. Take a look at this doorway here. Wow. And of course, we'd have our old world motifs here. This is a true castle. And just look at that ceiling. And we've got to have that old world flower. And I don't even have words for this. Wow. These nuns had style, huh? And back to the narrative here. In 1904, she built the Sacred Heart Orphanage and Girls' School, and in 5 years, the school outgrew their new building. Now, in these old pictures, they really change your perspective here on the building complex. It really shows you that the chapel is actually kind of the symmetrical center, and then they still have that oval there today. Now, the story goes from 1924 to 1942, the president was named Sister Agnes Summer, and she was known as the Builder. And despite the Great Depression, she was big into expansion and supposedly had built this chapel and the hall next door, both looking to be built in just 1 year in 1938. But looking up close, this sure does look a lot older than 1938, doesn't it, folks? Look at that moss on the cross. But I do have to say, if the official story isn't true, somehow. 1938 is pretty, for lack of a better term, ballsy of the inheritors to try to push out as a narrative. Kind of close, but I guess if they called it Art Deco, being built in a year during the Great Depression wouldn't be such a big deal. I tried to leave the audio up so you could hear the bells. I apologize if the sound quality is poor. Now this is Stanbrook Hall, also built in 1938, and I'm guessing just 1 year. Why wouldn't they have incredibly fancy brickwork on top of this dormitory? I mean, after all, it was just the Great Depression. And that brickwork under the arches is pretty interesting. But what an underrated, beautiful building. And then we have these back buildings with the old stoned arched windows and smokestacks. And they've got a very ancient look and feel to them. They're also part of this complex, but there are a lot of buildings. So the story goes, Mother Scholastica Cursed came up with the money in 1907 to purchase the land to build this castle. She came up with the money from her father, Peter, again, and the build started in the year 1907, and by the fall of 1909, the building was ready for occupancy, and in 1911, Mother Kirst died, and in 1912, the school had added a women's junior college. Personally, I think these 3 buildings were found and repurposed. The story just doesn't make logistical sense. But I could be wrong. Please leave your comments down below. What do you think? And I couldn't find any information on this old building, but I do see it in all of the old pictures of the St. Scholastica complex. And here's a shot from behind the buildings in a little courtyard. And what do you know? Buried arched windows. And a few more. And we can't leave out the bricked in old arches. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.